everyone. We're gonna take a look at a video.
New bonus content every week, interact with me on Discord, and maybe get your name on a list like this one. Just some of the perks of supporting the habit at patreon.com/doseofbuckley. I know you guys love when I talk about American politics, so let's get to it. The House of Representatives recently voted to pass the Equality Act, which is designed to extend existing civil rights laws to members of the LGBTQ community. In short, it's designed to do things like make it so a landlord can't tell a gay person, you can't rent an apartment here, which is actually still legal to do in over 20 states. Or an employer can't refuse to hire a trans person just because they're trans. Basically, they'd get the same protections black people have received since 1964. You can go read the entire bill online. It's H.R. 5, the Equality Act. And in it, you won't find a single thing that says sports team.
Sorry, I should have prefaced it. A Dose of Buckley just uploaded this video 45 minutes ago, and I don't know how much I can critique just yet. I don't know how much I can critique just yet since it's new and I've only seen it once. I feel like I'd probably have to listen to it a few more times before I actually think of constructive arguments. Also, hi Zalba, hi Mark. Alright, let's continue.
Teams must allow men in wigs to play women's sports. But over the last little while, that's become a huge talking point for some reason, with really outdated references being used. For some reason, this bill has got a lot of people worried that men will pretend to be women so that they can go win sporting events that they otherwise couldn't have won in a men's division. Now, this whole bill's probably going to fail in the Senate, but let's imagine a world where it didn't. First off, now you care about women's sports? Shut the fuck up. The 2020 WNBA Finals were watched by an average of 440,000 people over the 3-game series, and that was their best year ever. In contrast, the 2020 NBA Finals were watched by an average of 5.6 million people, which is actually down from 2019 when the final game drew over 18 million viewers. Many theories are that viewership is down because the NBA is too political now. Some sports fans call everyone else snowflakes, but they literally stop watching.
Posted the link in chat to this video. I don't even know how much I want to take a look at it. I don't even think I'm gonna go live for all that long anyway. I guess I'm just more so wondering what your guys' thoughts are to this whole thing. I think he blocked me from commenting because I posted a few comments and I can't see them. Sucks. I guess we'll just continue.
Sports that they enjoy because athletes have different opinions and they wrote some words on the floor. Either way, even with interest in the sport at its lowest, the NBA still draws over 12 times more viewers than women's basketball. And that's in the playoffs. We're not even talking about regular season games, where nobody watches the WNBA. Ask the people screaming about how women's sports could hypothetically be ruined by transgender athletes to name 3 WNBA players. Hell, ask them to name 3 WNBA teams without looking it up. I'd be surprised if they can name 3 currently active female athletes in any sport that aren't Venus and Serena Williams and that Asian golf girl. Yeah, you really fucking care about the integrity of women's sports. But Buckley, people will take advantage of this. Men will just pretend to be women and say, I'm a female athlete. You have to let me play. The Equality Act says so. Again, the Equality Act doesn't say
European football. What I think is funny already is the video it's nearing at 100 dislikes. People have the right to watch or not watch what they want to for any reason they want to. Oh no, I'm not roboting, am I? Because it says that my connection isn't that good.
anything about athletes or sports. But also, there are already rules in place in many sports, including the Olympics, to stop this. For example, in the Olympics, a female competitor, this is any female competitor, biologically born or otherwise, must have testosterone levels lower than 10 nanomoles per liter in their blood. And they have to maintain that for a year before they're allowed to compete. They're considering lowering this to 5 nanomoles. Now, the average woman apparently has less than 3 nanomoles per liter. But as we know, athletes aren't average. Though I can't find any data, you can bet that Serena Williams has higher testosterone than, say, your 5'1" sister who goes out clubbing every night and gets most of her exercise from running to the bathroom to puke in the morning. She's also the most drug-tested athlete in tennis, having been tested 5 times in 2018 and 31 times between 2013 and 20.
A little bit. I was roboting a little bit. I don't hear you roboting. I guess I don't care if trans women want to play in women's teams. I seriously wonder what Monkey and Jack would think of this video. Alright, it says I have good connection. It's not showing the little... Oh, now it is. Connection is fairly good. Connection is unstable if you're on Wi-Fi. Try plugging into your router or moving closer to it. The video isn't roboting, is it? The video itself that we're taking a look at.
2017. So if you're like, yeah, she's got higher testosterone because she's on steroids, you're just wrong. And you also don't know how steroids work. Conversely, the average men's testosterone levels are between 10 and 30 nanomoles per liter. Someone like LeBron James, Israel Adesanya, Stephon Diggs, or others have much higher levels than, say, you, sitting there getting ready to write some dumb shit into a YouTube comment section if you could just get your hand unwedged from the fucking Pringles can. Testosterone as a measurement level is somewhat controversial, but obviously, sports scientists believe that it makes a difference, as biological males have been penalized for having testosterone that was too high. Perhaps most famously, Lance Armstrong was stripped of all his Tour de France titles. Testosterone replacement therapy played a part in that. In 2018, the Nevada State Athletic Commission banned all TRT, no longer allowing any exemptions.
So what? This is a non sequitur. How often she is drug tested has to do with anything? The video is playing just fine. It does make a difference. Wish Keith was here. I wonder what she'd think of this video. I should have mentioned already that Buckley posted a video about Gina Carano last week, pretty much, or not necessarily about her, it was just like a small part of it that was about her, pretty much justifying why she got fired from Disney. Earlier this week, he posted a video about Bill Burr being called racist, and surprisingly, he called out his own side. He doesn't do that often. In the past year, he's only made he's only done 3 videos against his side. Yeah, 20 of his other videos, political videos, were against the rights. You saw his Gina video. So I was hoping that it would have been a redemption. I say that loosely because I didn't know he was going to go back to politics again this week. That it was going to be some bland, ordinary topic that we could all point and laugh at. He's a lefty who says he's not on the left. Actually, we'll play that clip in a minute because he says it a couple of times. Alright, let's continue.
The UFC followed suit, saying, even in areas where they do allow it, we won't allow fighters who are using TRT to compete for us. Which brings us to the example that everyone always uses. Fallon Fox. Fallon Fox is a trans mixed martial artist who hasn't competed in 5 fucking years, but she always gets brought up because literally there's no one else to talk about. Fallon Fox flew to Thailand to undergo full gender reassignment surgery in 2006. Yep, that means full snippage. And then, in 2012, 6 years later, became a professional fighter, which somehow gets turned into Fallon Fox became a woman to beat up other women. What they'll tell you is that Fallon Fox once broke the orbital bone of a fighter and dominated her opponents. What they won't tell you is that Fallon Fox has a record of 5-1. All of her wins were against fighters who were complete shit. None of them were good enough to be in the UFC. Her
I seriously wish I could post comments in his videos. I mean, I could, it's just they're not going to be seen. Not after the fact. Oh, by the way, I should have asked this at the start if you guys could hear it, but I guess, judging by the comments left in this video, or this stream, it sounds like it could. If they weren't good enough to be there, then why are they fighting?
first ever win was against a fighter.
Wait, now I can't hear it. Oh, wait. Oh, it was on my end, never mind. Boomer moment.
Who was already 0-2. Her second win, also against a fighter with no wins. Her third, a fighter who now has a record of 2 wins and 8 losses. In fact, she does not have a single win against a fighter who has a winning record in the sport. Oh, and that loss was to Ashley Evans-Smith, a cis woman who also has a losing record, but is the only one on the list with a Wikipedia page because she actually managed to get to the UFC. Ashley knocked Fallon Fox out in the 3rd round. Yeah, but what about that orbital bone thing? Fallon Fox is obviously too strong to fight women. Let me tell you a story about orbital bones. When I was a boxing coach, a 130-pound 16-year-old I was coaching broke the orbital bone of an adult who was at least 20 to 30 pounds heavier.
I just want to point this out. Coaches definitely come in all shapes and sizes. I don't know. From what I've seen in my personal life, coaches can be fat and coaches can be strong. Buckley describes himself as scrawny, and I don't know how tall or short he is. I want to say he's 5'7", just because he said Ben Shapiro is the only one he can name who's similar to his size. I don't know. I just think it's odd that he was a coach despite being scrawny. Orbital bones aren't that hard to break.
Who was wearing headgear at the time, and the 16-year-old was wearing 16-ounce gloves. Your face bones are soft as fuck and not designed for being punched a lot. I guarantee you, if Fallon Fox were to fight Chris Cyborg, who was born a woman, Fallon would lose. Amanda Nunes would beat her. Holly Holm, who knocked out Ronda Rousey, would also beat her. All of those women are in Fallon's weight class. But trans women have an advantage. They're taller. They have wider hips. Motherfuckers. That is sports.
Now he's just being disingenuous on purpose.
If I started as a child, I could have trained 7 days a week for 10 years and never have become as good a swimmer as Michael Phelps, as fast a runner as Usain Bolt, as good a hockey player as Alex Ovechkin. They were immediately destined to be greater athletes, pretty much from birth. They would grow up to be larger, have higher bone density, different muscle structures that make them immediately better at their chosen sports. They have access to better training. Is it unfair? Yes, they all have advantages I can't overcome. Is that sports? Yes. In my peak physical condition, I could run 5K, a little over 3 miles, in about 22 minutes on a treadmill. Pretty good for some schlub at the gym. The world record is 12 minutes 35 seconds for men and 14 minutes 6 seconds for women.
He's comparing it to the absolute best. They can have an advantage, but it's not guaranteed.
Outside on a track. In my prime, as a man, I was 8 minutes slower than the fastest woman in the world, and probably several minutes slower than every other woman competing in that same race. Sports are unfair. Life is unfair, and sports have always been about exploiting every advantage to be better than others. Do you know why black players weren't allowed in the MLB? It wasn't just because of racism. I mean, it sort of was. But it's because they were better athletes, and a bunch of fat white guys didn't want to have to actually try and train.
So he's comparing it to segregation.
Babe Ruth hit 60 home runs in a season and 714 in his career after falling off a bar stool every evening and into the batter's box. That's what baseball players wanted. They didn't want to have to face actual athletes or possibly train to get good. If Babe Ruth had faced off against today's athletes, he'd have been fucked. Now, that's not to say there shouldn't be some level of fairness. Yes, Michael Phelps shouldn't be able to gorilla glue a wig to his head once he's too old to compete with the young dudes and go, I'm a woman now. I'm competing in women's events to win some more gold medals. But that's not what's happening. And yes, there needs to be more scientific study on the subject, by actual scientists who work in the field of sports medicine and biology, not people on Twitter who read the Babylon Bee.
The Babylon Bee is conservative, or the Babylon Bee is anti-liberal.
Yes, men and women are created differently. We're aware of this. There's nothing controversial about that statement.
What's the point of having them play, or biological men and biological women competing against each other, whether or not they transitioned? Somehow racism fits into this. It's a Reed Richards reach right there. I'll try saying that 3 times fast. Oh god, I just said a cliche.
There are scientists who have done research to suggest that men who go through puberty as men and then transition do retain quite a bit of their muscle. But what little evidence we have suggests this isn't a huge problem. For example, the person the Babylon Bee referenced, transgender cyclist Veronica Ivy, who broke the 200-meter sprint record in her age category with a time of 11.649 seconds. The actual overall women's record for that same distance is held by a biological woman, Kelsey Mitchell, at 10.154 seconds, a full second and a half faster than Veronica. The way people tell it, no biological woman has a chance against Ivy, but clearly, they do. Oh, and of course, there's no concern about women transitioning to men to dominate certain sports. For example, what if 4'8" Simone Biles decided it'd be easier to win medals in the men's gymnastics events? No one's concerned about that, because the attitude is basically, a woman winning a man's sport? Laughable! In fact, the Olympics also don't care. A woman transitioning to male has no restrictions, no testing that's required. End of the day, you're worried about such a non-existent problem.
Oh god, I didn't even notice this screen cap when I first saw it. People. COVID affects like 1% of the population. We don't need to take precautions. This isn't a real problem. Also, people, there have been like 6 trans athletes that have won events. We need to stop this right now. That's not even in the same realm. First of all, why does he say people? Why doesn't he just say conservatives, or the other term that he started using recently, reactionary? This is a false analogy. A pandemic, COVID, we haven't done anything to, there have been no shutdowns, no mass government government regulations, nothing like that until COVID. And now, the trans athlete thing, there are far fewer people who actually play sports. Far fewer people who play sports, and 6, the number could change. It will change. Too bad the Babylon Bee is right so often. The Babylon Bee is satire, not real news. Does he think we read it and believe what they're saying? No idea, but I wouldn't be surprised.
After they changed the rules in 2016 to technically make it even easier for trans athletes to compete at the Olympics, no trans athletes competed. In fact, a trans person has never won a medal at any Olympic event, despite being allowed to participate since 2003. I don't even know if any have qualified to enter. Most Olympic sports have a grueling qualifying procedure, so if you think, I could pretend to be a girl and win a gold medal, the more likely outcome will be like Cartman in the episode of South Park, where he pretends to be handicapped to win the Special Olympics and then loses every event because they're all better athletes than he is, and he's a fat, lazy fuck. There are so few people who are trans, and even fewer of them who want to be athletes. And no one is going to go through the hell that is gender reassignment surgery, hormone treatments, and having your testosterone levels lowered to an absolute minimum to dominate sports that earn you fucking nothing. The minimum NBA salary is over $800,000. 8 times higher than the WNBA's league average, and over 15 times higher than their league minimum of $57,000. There are managers at Walmart that earn more than the WNBA's league minimum. I keep using the WNBA as the example, by the way, because it's also the only women's professional sport in America that pays fucking anything. You think women's mixed martial arts outside of the UFC pays anything? Fallon Fox probably got paid $900 and a ham sandwich for most of her fights. Oh yeah, but no, financially it's a great idea. Well, I'm good enough to be the worst player in the NBA and make $800,000. Or I could go through years of incredibly expensive, painful, completely not covered by insurance modifications to my body in order to meet the medical requirements to play in a woman's sport, become a pretty good player in the WNBA, and earn between $60,000 and $100,000. Which would be the best option? Yeah, my advice, don't spend too much time scratching your balls thinking about that one.
Well, there you have it. That's the end of that. The end of that cringe fest. And to address Mark's comment from earlier, I couldn't find the comment when he said he's not left or right. However, I will show you this. So here are his videos in the past year. The Capitol riot on January 6th. In this one, he talks a little bit about politics, mainly mocking conservatives. In this one, he mentions the Proud Boys, his worst songs of 2020. This. He definitely mocks conservatives in this one. Here, he's done one video on feminists. Funny how a feminist is calling out other feminists. This, oh god, his cancel culture video is such a cringe. He basically said it doesn't exist because it's just like getting dislikes on a video. In fact, this is just ridiculous. Alright, going back to his other stuff. Copy Karen. Yeah, copy Karen. This one, I don't know where it stands actually. I've only seen these videos once. I should take a look at them again. But this was definitely one of his worst. Oh, and by the way, I just want to point out, in his trans women in sports video, Buckley complained about an outdated arguments. One of his first videos from when he started doing YouTube again is the Center Bowl. It was posted a year ago in February 2020. Of course, since it's about the Super Bowl, he criticizes Christians. He criticizes Christians like it's the mid 1980s. Jack Cochran would tell you that it's like the Satanic Panic. I don't disagree with his point, and most normal people don't. It's a small number of vocal people who have too much time on their hands to read on Twitter conservatives and liberals. He makes disingenuous arguments for something that most people don't see a problem with. like you said, there are so few trans people and even fewer of them that play sports that it's really a non-issue. Yes, it's basically all I needed to present. I think I might as well just end it right here. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks to Zalbla and thanks to Mark. I hope you try to enjoy that cringe fest. Oh, good. Mark is still here. All right. There's not going to be a Lord's tonight. I'll just see you next time I stream. Take care, everyone.